People, Deluded, I'm back again. As we know, during this off-season, news in relation to transfers and whatnot is always ever breaking. I'm sure you lot at this point would have seen the video I released earlier today. So big up to you lot for being here. If you haven't, go and tune into that one. And again, big up you lot for tuning in and supporting the content. Like, comment, and subscribe. Let me share my screen with you lot and let's go over everything and let me not waste your time. Now, speaking of not wasting time, in truth, I'm exhausted with the Benjamin Sesko stuff. Long story short, he's allegedly committing his future to Leipzig, signing a new and improved deal, which removes the release clause and has a gentleman's agreement that he can exit in 2025 or 2026. I don't doubt it, but, you know, gentlemen and business, they rarely ever coexist, really. And if it's not in cold-hearted writing, boy, they control all the aces. And as we know, with the striker market, there isn't too many great household names that you could say could really do a job. So if you've got a 21-year-old who, you know, Leipzig know that he was going to stay for a couple of seasons, which he's committed to staying more, they're going to sell him either to the British market. United tried to get him last summer. They tried along with Arsenal and Chelsea now. Or somewhere else and make significant profit. And to be honest with you, you know, again, he's just joined Leipzig. He's been there a year, started slow, doing his thing. There's no rush to make the move. You know, he's allowed to develop relatively out of the spotlight, as much as you can say that for a team in the Bundesliga that have played in the Champions League. But yeah, he's expected to sign a new contract. And it also suggests what is said in the media, as I always say, and what's going on in the footballing world are two different realms, because it was almost imminent that he was allegedly signing for Arsenal this week. So it is what it is. I would have loved him because I think he doesn't break the budget really, and it gives us flexibility in other areas. He's 21, so he ties in with the long term. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I genuinely believe in the next 2 years he will be an even more household name, and I guess we'll see what's going on in the Euros, people. Sesko was said to have a release clause in his deal that would have made him available for 55 million until the end of June, which we're ever approaching. 2 weeks left. He will sign an improved deal with the German club ahead of the Euros, which starts on Friday, which we'll be doing watch-alongs for. You know, his country, Slovenia, will be playing Serbia, Denmark, and England. So I guess we'll get to see him up close and personal. He did get 18 goals in all comps last season, as it says there, including in his 7 in his last 7 Bundesliga matches. Again, Joshua Zirkzee is someone that apparently has got strong interest from AC Milan. Some news outlets actually say he's agreed personal terms. But, you know, because Arsenal and Man United in particular are looking for strikers and have obviously missed out on Sesko, it's going to be daily Joshua Zirkzee news, people. When I think of him, I think his goal scoring can improve. His goal scoring is not eye-catching at this moment. But I think, as I've said before, when I think of Joshua, I think of playmaking. I think in terms of pressing, in terms of, you know, being a creative outlet up front. I think he does all of those things Mikel Arteta wants. In a better team, a more front-footed team, obviously Mikel Arteta can work on him individually and collectively. He's a quality player. I wouldn't play him as a 10, but he's one of them kind of strikers, if that makes sense. Like it's like he's a 10, and those are some interesting stats. Obviously, he got 11 goals last season for Bologna as they got Champions League football, and Thiago Motta has actually gone to Juventus. Speaking of Juventus, who wants to bet money on how long it takes the media outlets to link us with Vlahovic? But, you know, he got 11 goals and 4 assists, which puts him at, 10th and 8th respectively. He's 5th for chances created. He's 1st for dribbles completed. For possession won, he's 2nd. And for touches. So again, you know, ultimately, I do believe we need a striker that can get the goals. He hasn't got the CV to suggest such. And he has had a couple of injuries. But I do think he would be a good signing. And he's 6 foot plus as well. And I think he's actually, his release clause is 30, 40 odd million quid. So similar to Sesko, it doesn't necessarily break the bank. In relation to Arsenal and United, both clubs are understood to be keeping a close eye on developments with the striker, who is among a number of attacking options for Arsenal and United this summer. Apparently, Milan are still pushing to sign a 23-year-old, and apparently they've actually held talks in London around him. Nothing's been agreed, so both teams have a chance, but they still remain in contact with his reps. He's got 2 years left to run on a 34 million, on his contract, which has a 34 million pounds in brackets 40 million euros release clause. But hey, we'll have to see in that regards. I mean, we have been linked with Isaac. That's a movie, really. You know, if you ain't got 90 million to begin a conversation, forget about it. And they're not going to accept nothing less than that as a minimum. They probably want 100 odd. Ivan Toney, it seems it's gone quiet on that front. Yesterday, we were linked with Dominic Solanke. Osimhen has expressed his desire to one day play in the Premier League, and his release clause is at around 100 million, and his wages is probably a madness where the budget's concerned. I would love Gyökeres. It seems like that's gone quiet. Garassi, I don't think is the right option for us, but at the same time, if you got 28 goals in 28 games, you're doing something all right. Once again, initially, Fabrizio Romano said Benjamin Sesko has decided to accept the proposal from Leipzig. He stays at the club and extends his contract. We expect Sesko to sign his contract really soon. It's agreed, it's done. Sesko is not going to the Premier League. And then he followed that up by saying, despite receiving many proposals from the Premier League, Sesko decides to stay at Leipzig. My information, Sesko had many possibilities. First, new contract proposal from Leipzig, but also 2 proposals from Saudi with apparently a net salary of 30 million a year, which at 21, boy, you can set your family up for life, but that wasn't probably going to happen. And again, he said it here, Arsenal, Chelsea and Man United all wanted to sign him, and I guess we'll all be queuing up in the years to come, people. Again, everybody's kind of saying the same thing. We know it hasn't worked out. We know his reps and his agent have been trying to decide his future before he goes off to the Euros, and we're at where we're at. This article once again says we could reignite our interest in Joshua Zirkzee, and also has said that, where the 2 Swedish strikers in Alexander Isak and Gyökeres are concerned, our interest hasn't gone away. A move for Ivan Toney looks unlikely. Once again, Mikel Arteta, we've seen this in several outlets, would like a left back, a central midfielder and a winger, but any arrivals are likely to have to be balanced by sales. Of course, that's how you run a business. There's understood to be strong interest in Thomas Partey from Saudi Arabia, and Nketiah, Smith-Rowe and Reece Nelson are also available for transfer. So really and truly, people are just saying the same things in creative ways. It's like your homework. They're taking the last paragraph and putting it first. We know we're going to need to get some sales on. We know we've been linked with several of those strikers. We've been told Mikel Arteta wants a central midfielder, a winger, and potentially a striker. Left back rumours have been very aggressive. And we all know, Thomas Partey and Nketiah, Smith-Rowe, Nelson, and plenty of players' futures are subject to speculation. Once again, I actually think, I won't quite say Sesko's made the right decision because I don't know, but I just think people forget, especially with young players, stability. He's gaining importance at Leipzig, as shown by the new contract and how he ended it. You've got a stable environment, respectfully to them. You've got a club that recognize that we can try and achieve things and aspire to win things, but we bring in these young players, develop them, and then we sell them. There's a long list of players, even people that went on loan, like someone like Xavi Simons, done quite well at Leipzig. So yeah, man. Romano said, from what I understand, he believes that this is the best decision for his development. It's not about money. If he wanted money, he had big possibilities and big salaries in the Premier League. He believes staying at Leipzig for one more season and having the possibility to be a crucial player for the squad for the entire season is the best option for his development. So again, where Man United is concerned, does he reckon he could play ahead of Ramos Højlund? Where Chelsea's concerned, whether it's Nkunku or anyone who's going to play up front, does he reckon he gets ahead of them? Does he reckon he would get enough first team football in comparison to Kai Havertz? I'm not too sure, or Gabriel Jesus, in which I think he would. But at the end of the day, and I won't even say you're a guaranteed starter at Leipzig because it took you a while to go. If you reckon that you ultimately, minutes are currency, if you reckon you got a better opportunity there, then I think this is smart, really and truly. The club was pushing a lot to keep him. The manager insisting on this one, and now Sesko decides to accept because he believes this is the best possibility to build for his future. Into his new contract, there's a new gentleman's agreement between Sesko, his agents, and Leipzig to leave the club in the summer of 2025 or 2026 with different conditions compared to the 65 million euro clause for this summer. Now, maybe it will come out that there's a new and increased release clause. If you're Leipzig, you probably want to remove that. Full stop, because you control the variables. And again, the striker market is poor. So if you've got an appreciating asset who, if he scores 18 plus goals or more next summer, it's more cha-ching ching. You get where we're going with that, people. Sesko's decision to remain at Leipzig does not necessarily mean that Arsenal will switch their attention to another central forward. The club are also keen to strengthen in wide positions and may prioritize a winger instead of a more traditional striker. I'm sure Sesko was a target and they had every other ones, but I think if they're not, Arteta and Edu have shown, for better or worse, we're not just going to sign someone for the sake of it. So if the striking alternatives, we fail to get agreements done, or, I don't know, Gyökeres and Isak are too expensive, a deal for Osimhen can't be done, Joshua Zirkzee goes AC Milan, Sesko has said, I'm staying, we're not keen on Ivan Toney, for example, just because these guys have been linked with Arsenal at some point, then I think, what they'll say is better than no, is, someone isn't always better than no one, let's find a winger. And we have to be open to many flexibilities. But for me, ideal world or ideal world would be apologies, messing up my whole flow. Almost died there, but maybe someone's put a curse on me. But as I was saying, ideal world, if that would make sense, would be a winger and a striker. Ideal world would be a striker. other ideal world would be, you know, you can't get a striker. Can you get a winger that could get a certain amount of numbers? Like, again, I don't have any names, but, you know, if you had a Mo Salah or Son Heung-min in his prime, kind of offset the difference in that regards, people. So we have to be open to it. One position I will not accept anything less than in addition is central midfield. If you can get someone that can play in a bunch of roles, great. But central midfield and that long-term partner for Declan Rice must be found. Dean Jones has said there have been some whispers over the weekend that Arsenal were happy to let the Sesko rumours keep flying as they were doing other work behind the scenes, which is true. But, you know, this is so funny about all these journalists. They will come out and say this after, but you lot were peddling the rhetoric around Sesko. Once again, people, again, the 6'4" Slovenian Sesko is elected to stay at Leipzig, and as usual, we're going to get linked with other ones. Feyenoord Santiago Jimenez's name has been thrown back into the ring, people. And to be honest, Sesko, Zirkzee, and Jimenez in theory would add something different to Arsenal, and they all got age on their side, people. We got 91 Premier League goals last season. I remember Mikel Arteta saying we need to be a team that can score 100 goals, and we did do that in all comps. But in the Premier League, we're 9 short, and you just wonder, yeah, if we had another attacking option, any defeats we've taken this season, could it have been turned into draws? Any draws, could that have been turned into 3 points? And you lot all know how last season ended and the points tally and stuff. If we just had 4+ points more as a minimum, where would we be? So it's about getting that edge, and it's almost impossible against Pep Guardiola's Man City, especially in what could be this upcoming season, Pep's last one. So I'm sure he wants to do the 5 in a row. You know, apparently, obviously, long story short, Kai Havertz up front has probably not changed our thinking, but probably eased our thinking in relation to a pressing need for a striker in that regards. We all know Gabriel Jesus is at the club. Nico Williams is always linked with Arsenal. I don't know what to make of that. It does say he's of interest, though his wages may prove a stumbling block. Arteta has spoken of the need for Arsenal to create magic moments in attack, and Crystal Palace winger Elise is one player on the market who could provide that for them. Pardon me, who wouldn't want Elise? But it seems like that's a fight between Manchester United and Chelsea, in which Chelsea appear to be winning. Based on reports, we don't know, people. Arsenal have huge confidence in their attack, and the key this summer is to add depth to it. Okay, that's great. And once again, Nelson Smith-Rowe, Aaron Ramsdale, and the usual suspects have been made available for transfer. Romano has said Yusuf Fofana is 100% leaving Monaco this summer. The CEO of Monaco, as well as Fofana, have more or less alluded to that before, people. But for what it's worth, he said, at the moment, it's a calm situation, nothing close to advance with any club for Fofana, from what I've heard. He just wants to try something new, and Monaco don't want to lose him for free in 2025. So both parties are keen on an exit for the summer. Apparently, he went on to say he was on the list for Man United last summer. Arsenal have been sending their scouts multiple times to follow him in recent months and years at Monaco. So let's see if Arsenal will decide to go for Fofana. I've done a video tactically looking over him. You would have seen a few years ago before he's at Monaco. I wanted him, you know. France has been a gold mine. 1-1. Had we have just moved early for Camavinga, for Fofana, where would we be? I know they're not Brazilian. I mean, they're not French, and they're Brazilian, but they played in France at a point. Paqueta or Gomares, where would we be? A bit like Isaac at Sociedad. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. Everybody's smart in hindsight, but you get the point, people. So yeah, we're admiring him. Apparently, Ryan Taylor of the Express has said we're admirers of Fofana and have held initial talks with his reps, but at this stage, discussions have not gone any further than that. So there's got to be some legs to it if we're having some sort of level of discussion. And if we're sending scouts, he has to be somewhat thought of at Arsenal, really. We have been linked with Murillo of Nottingham Forest before. I don't know if you're going to, you know, you're Brazilian like Big Gabriel, but I don't know if you'll be able to take his spot. When we was linked with him in the first few months, a few months ago, and them links first around, started doing my homework, and he's a bit raw in certain aspects, but I can see why they might want him, but they're going to ask for a lot of money. Apparently Edu is pushing for his signature in the where the 21-year-olds involved, people. Arsenal brought in Paulo Javier from Real Madrid as a scout. Xavier or whatever was part of the team that identified global stars like Vinicius Junior, Rodrigo, and Endrick. It's thought that Murillo has been on Arsenal's radar for some time. That's great. And Edu and this scout, I know it's easier said than done, but Edu is Brazilian as well. We can't be going back to Brazil. We big us up for finding Martinelli, but we can't be going back to Brazil and rocking up with Marquinhos. You know, last time I checked, our right winger was actually playing right back on loan back in Brazil. You need to come with some Vinicius or Rodrigo or what's his name, Estalvio, who's going Chelsea. He's actually quite good. I hate the fact that he signed for them. We need to get one of these lit guys. Apparently, they want 60 to 70 million for Murillo, and I mean, I'm all for it. You know, another defensive body. I guess he's left-footed, so Arteta may be intrigued with maybe playing him at left back. He does like to dribble with a ball as well for a defender. He's almost like a younger, unpolished Gabriel to a degree. There's them similarities with when Gabriel was first at the club. I just can't see us spending 60, 70 on a centre-half, not because I don't think we can or there's no intention to, but if we're more likely to spend significant fees, surely you're more likely to, quote-unquote, do that for a winger, a striker, a central midfielder, which on the face of it, I would like another defensive body, but is it guaranteed that at this moment in time, this guy is going to get ahead of potentially Benjamin White, Tomiyasu and Timber if they had to play centre-half, let alone Gabriel and Saliba? Do back him respectfully to get ahead of Kyrgios, though. You could even throw Declan Rice into that debate. That's why I want another centre-half or another versatile attacker, because we do have depth and we do have players, if need be, that could play there. But if we don't get more depth, and for God, you know, God forbid, but just for argument's sake, if I'm sure there was a point last season Declan played in a game for a point at centre-half. But if Declan has to move centre-half, if Benjamin White has to move to centre-half, there's holes in the team. And you know, injuries rarely ever come in one. It's always two. So we do need to pattern up the depth. I think Spurs will probably more likely press ahead with that one. Speaking of Spurs, we've been linked with ex-Spurs man Marcus Edwards as well, people. I don't really buy into that, but we have. You know, Chido Obi Martin has been in the papers in the last 24 hours. He's had a great season as a schoolboy. I've gone over this before, but Bayern Munich are apparently trying to get him. Romano has said it's still open with his situation. Bayern and Borussia Dortmund have been showing interest in the talented striker for months, but Arsenal are still there, still trying to get him to sign a new contract and keep Chido at the club. Let's see what happens in the next days. Fair enough. If he stays, he stays. If not, tough luck. Kyrgios consistently being linked with Arsenal, with a departure from Arsenal Football Club. Allegedly, Thiago Motta has made a specific request for the club to sign Kyrgios. Arsenal want at least 20 million euros to sanction a sale, which Juventus deemed to be excessive and believe Arsenal could lower their demands later this month. Rumors of him going to Italy haven't gone away. I think we could. I know Italian clubs like to play broke, but you know, unless another centre half comes in, it doesn't make sense. Or if Kyrgios pushes for a move. Finally, allegedly, Arsenal are keen to sign a third choice goalkeeper in the imminent transfer window. Sources have told Football Insider, and it's likely to be a homegrown player. So technically, this summer we could sign 3 goalkeepers: Raya permanently, obviously a number 2, and then a backup choice. I mean, if we could go and find a Scott Carson who's good for the squad, then why not? So we'll have to see exactly what's going on in that regards. But on that note, let me know your thoughts on everything I've gone over, people. Smash the like button. Peace.